This morning, the Fox 12 investigators are diving into a little-known setup in the medical world, one that critics say has led to unnecessary surgeries. We're talking about physician-owned distributorships. Our national investigative team found the practice can be so hidden that hospitals don't even realize they're paying doctors not just to operate, but for their own equipment. For Fox 12, Lee Zurich tells us about Operation Profit.
Wow, didn't realize what I escaped.
Mr. Bullshit on the bass guitar, check it out. Shut up!
This used to take up much of Paul Shin's time until the rock and roll musician tore some cartilage in his knee. That injury cascaded into a series of serious problems. A limp from his leg issue wound up causing back pain. That's when a doctor sent him to a specialist.
So they recommended that you get an operation on your back?
Yes, a medical procedure that was minimally invasive.
Shin says the surgery involved a clamp and surgical material, but the material busted apart and he needed it removed. Here's what came out. Some pieces remain lodged in his spinal cord.
I can't move because the pain's just so sharp. It's just debilitating.
Public records show Shin was among many patients who sued Dr. Arya Sabit, who's been accused of multiple botched surgeries with high infection rates and surgical mishaps. Kevin Reynolds also sued after his mother died.
She was a beautiful lady, heart of gold.
Reynolds says he signed pre-op paperwork for a 1 or 2 level spinal fusion.
He took it upon his own accord to do more levels, 3 to 4 levels in total, so 2 extra levels without our consent.
What was unknown to many patients like Reynolds' mother, Sabit made money off of some of the screws, plates, and cages he used in surgeries. Sabit's setup is actually used by doctors all across the country. It's known as physician-owned distributorships, or pods. It's where the doctors own a piece of the company that supplies the hardware for surgeries.
You have these egregious doctors that were throwing in hardware just for the sake of making money.
Neurosurgeon Scott Lederhouse once served as president of the Association for Medical Ethics. He says by using their own company's hardware, doctors can make 2 or 3 times more money per surgery.
Most of the doctors keep it in a stealth mode where they just will keep quiet about their involvement in the pod, making any money on the implants they put in.
Right now, it's almost impossible to identify where pods are operating, even though they're required to publicly report ownership through a federal program called Open Payments. When we analyzed the most recent federal data, we only found 24 likely pods. The government believes many more exist and has concerns about these pods, even discussing evidence of pods doctors operating more often and sometimes unnecessarily. But some health law experts argue this story is more about some bad doctors instead of a bad business model.
Because if a surgeon is doing unnecessary surgeries, to me that's a whole different issue. Having nothing to do with what they own, that's a problem in and of itself. You know, to me, that's analytically a different question.
But even this proponent of pods agrees there should be transparency when doctors profit off the hardware they use in surgery.
This type of stuff wasn't disclosed, and it's not, I hate the word transparent in the medical field because I didn't experience any of that.
That was Lee Zurich reporting. Court Reynolds show Reynolds' mother's surgery was one of more than 375 Dr. Sabit performed at a California hospital. He then resigned and went to Michigan, where more accusations piled up. In 2015, Sabit pleaded guilty to health care fraud. A federal judge sent him to prison for 20 years. In an effort to force more transparency, the government is now requiring pods to clearly use that label in federal records.